What's up? It's Mike Rotella hanging out over at Distortions Unlimited. We're doing some Monster Lab stuff. And today I'm going to talk about making teeth. I really like sculpting teeth, and it's pretty exciting, but a pretty difficult process. There's a lot of constant, crazy shapes and complex stuff going on with teeth and gums. And I've tried to make it, even in fun creatures like this guy right here, try to make it as realistic as possible. You know, whether they're fantasy teeth or real, you know, just try to stick to some of the rules that actually exist in nature and try to get as close to it as possible. This is really fun art by John Lorenzi that we have for this character here. And the cool thing I like about him is, as fun and weird as he is, he has these kind of real natural looking, regular kind of human style teeth. So that'll be really fun to try to get that. First, with anything. You know, an amazing sculptor named Mitch Devane told me that an artist is only as good as his reference, which he, you know, I think he was quoting someone else, but that just became a quote from him for me. So here's some pictures I always pull up, you know, from a kind of morgue of photos that I have, like reference stuff. My computer's covered in clay and it looks terrible, but, you know, this is how it is. And when you're in the trenches, you know. And there's a couple different ways that you can do this. What I like to do is I like to use stuff like this. These small tools have these really, you know, neat shapes, like kind of like spoons. You know, this you can find these guys anywhere. And this is the Jim Cagle tool. I saw Jim Cagle using this, and he's one of my favorites. So I went out and got this, and it turns out it works really well for teeth. What I do usually is I'll just take this spoon shape, which is already kind of the shape of a tooth with the root and everything. You can kind of see that kind of tooth shape in there already. And I just have my clay kind of laid out in this big like palette, and I just kind of find, you know, the center line, at least roughly as much as I can, where the tooth might be, and I just push this tool up into the clay to create where the root of the tooth where it comes out of the gum. And you could just pull that down, you know, as far as you can. And that's kind of the basic, you know, base shape for your tooth and where it comes. Now you can just kind of follow that, you know, with all the teeth if you want, just to kind of lay out where they're going to be. When I have that flatness, I can go back in with the loop, you know, the round end of my loop, or that spoon end of any one of these, and just round it off and smooth it off a little more. So there's more of a natural kind of transition from the curve of the tooth root into that plane. And it has more of like a, you know, a natural realistic way of doing that. Then I can just lay in a line and just find, you know, where that ends. And then we get into the canine teeth, which usually when you're doing a monster character, that's the ones that are sharp, and you'll elongate to make them more like vampire or whatever, because that's really the tooth in nature that elongates into a fang in most mammals and stuff like that. So this one, instead of just that flat plane that you have in those incisors, this one has two planes that kind of meet in the middle like a pyramid, and it has a little bit of that sharp like fang look. Even the smallest, you know, most innocent looking canine teeth has a little bit of a point to it. So you got to remember that. So what I'll do is, with my little flat loop, I'll go in there and make, you know, those two flat planes now in this tooth, and go in there, find that little sharp edge for that tooth and lay that out. Now this is all super basic right now, obviously, because I'm just kind of laying out where everything works. Just go back in with the round again and find that root and try to just transition it again into that tooth. The next teeth all the way back will copy the canine, at least the outer shape of it. So now you're always dealing with two planes until you get to the molars. And a lot of times you don't even see the molars in a mask and stuff like that, so it's not that huge deal. But the premolars are just kind of fatter little versions of the canine, at least from the outside. There's a lot more anatomy going on the inside, so if the mouth was open, you'd have to figure that out as well. But we're not going to really get into that. So just like we've been doing, just because it's a little bit thicker and a little bit fatter of a tooth because they're slowly transitioning from one style of tooth to the next, the premolars are transforming into molars slowly. So it's just another squattier, fatter version of the canine, at least from this angle. After that, you got the molars. Now, just for the sake of what we're doing here, I'm going to show you that there's a little bit of difference to a molar, just so you can see. Obviously, there wouldn't be a molar down here, but same thing for the bottom. You want to lay it out just the opposite of the way you've been doing it. You know, you can throw that root in there first. Molars are a little fatter and a little more square. And the way they're broke down, I mean, it's really complicated because now it's almost like two canines smashed together into one tooth. So instead of 2 planes, you have like 4 planes, and it's kind of crazy. And you can cheat that. It doesn't have to be perfect, you know, when you're doing monsters and stuff. But just so you know, just knowing the anatomy is important, I think. So instead of 1 peak like you have in this point of the canine, you're going to have 2. And it's going to separate into this kind of like weird, like popcorn sort of shape that has all this stuff going on. And this is an important part of teeth too. It's not always just carving into whatever you already have. You can add as well. I mean, you can do anything. You just keep, you know, stretching it however far you want. So I don't have enough clay here, so I'll add a little bit to get a little more tooth action, to have a little more stuff to work with. And then I can work in my planes. And then it just becomes a refining process, just getting in between them, making sure they're nice and smooth and clean. So it's just basic cleaning from there. Right now, I mean, these teeth seem a little like recessed, and my first big incisor in my art here is much bigger. It has kind of that chiclet look to it, which makes it kind of a fun character. And you know, I don't have that just yet because I'm just laying them out. So you just, you know, roll up some little noodles and stuff, and just stick them right in there, and just wherever you need mass, or you know, whatever you need to do, you just kind of lay it right on there with your little noodles, and then you just go right back in with the tools and keep working it. It has this cool little slick little gap in the middle. So I'm just going to throw that in there right now, so that when I lay out the other side, which is just another mirror image, I'll make sure to keep that gap in there. Since we're on talking about gaps, with sculpting anything from wrinkles to teeth or whatever, you never want, and this is something I just barely learned and I'm trying to perfect, you don't want to have the width of a tool in between all your wrinkles, in between all your teeth, because in nature, if you look at our teeth, a lot of them, you know, people with really nice straight teeth without gaps or anything, they butt almost right up, you know, microscopically, you know, into each other, and maybe they're not necessarily touching, but you know, it's not the width of your tool. The width of your tool is too big, so you have to get in there with something really tiny and tight, and that should be, you know, the width of where the teeth are meeting. And just slowly but surely, you keep building it out and figuring it out until you get that more natural look. All right, here's pretty much the whole mouth kind of laid out. It's still very rough, as you can see, but you got pretty much all the information there that you need. What I did was I just mirrored this side on this side from the middle teeth, and then once again the bottom teeth. But then it's just all about, you know, refining it. What I did here, if you could see this, is add a little bit of gum on top of there just to fill the mouth out a little bit, and you're never confined to you know, what's there. You could always take away or add, and I just added that little bit of gum up there, and I'm going to go in and just make sure that there's a little bit of anatomy in the gums too. Make sure that they're connected, and you know, they look like they're kind of draped over the teeth. And you can always, if you have to, just take a little booger of clay and put it in there, just to accentuate the gum in between the teeth. You know, these are all just things that, you know, you don't realize as a beginner. The same way, you don't realize it when you're doing an ear. You know, you think of an ear as just like a round shape with a big hole in there, you know, and you slowly start realizing all the little subtle, you know, little intricate shapes that are going into an ear or a nose or something. Well, here we are with the finished teeth. That's just been cleaning them up and getting in there with some different brushes and stuff and trying to smooth stuff out with tiny brushes in here with the gums, and then I usually go over with a nice soft brush over the top, you know, maybe a little bit of water just to make them a little smooth and shiny. And there you go, there's some little gremlin teeth.